It's having the conversation, figuring out what is most important to you. That's the route that we end up going.
I feel that people get overwhelmed by the prospect of having to prepare a house for sale because, they think like, oh my God, I got to empty the house, or like,
dude,
I
if
can't
I had to
move
list my house right now, I look at the trim and I'm like, oh my God, the trim is a hot mess. It needs to get replaced. I'm in real estate and I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I see my house. I was like, God forbid I had to prep this thing for sale.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It sucks.
It is. It does suck. And that's why we're going to talk about that. It is not always about getting all that $1,000 back. And people are like, wait, what are you talking about? What is that?
There is never such thing as too soon, but there's always such thing as too late. We have a guest today.
Oh, who's that?
This is Little. Ow! That's not an accurate representation of him.
He's part of the team.
He is part of the team, and his back claw is just dug into my foot. That's all. His love language is personal touch, and he always needs to be on me at all times. He is my sweet angel child, and I love him so much. He is my firstborn.
Yes.
I cannot always not have him in frame. So
is he hanging out for the episode?
Little?
Yeah, is he hanging out for the episode?
We'll find out. But okay. And I just want everybody to know. Seth said, "Are you sure you really want to have Little and on the podcast? You're going to be labeled as the cat lady." I'm not really afraid of that title. I'll wear that badge with honor. I love my cat. I think.
Got it. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Moving Sucks. Welcome, Little.
Yes, he is part of the SLG team.
He seems very, very interested in what we're talking about.
He's on our calls in the mornings. He is. He is a part of this. He is
a part of the team. But no, today we are going to be talking about preparing your house for sale. So just like when we rebooted this podcast, we wanted to make sure that we talked about solutions and the process of moving, and getting your house for sale is a big part of it. And it's a big boulder that people can't get around sometimes because they're like, they won't even move just because they hate the prospect of moving. They don't know.
A lot of people ask, like, it's one of the biggest questions that people have when they're considering moving and selling is, well, what do we have to do to the house to get ready to move? And that there is no one answer.
Well, no, I mean, that really what it comes down to, it's like, honey, there's no way we could ever get this place ready to sell.
I also find a lot of times that people very often think that they need to do a lot more to it than they really need to do.
Yep.
This is also market specific too, kind of, sort of. So few things that we're going to get into in this episode on this topic is going to be, when do you have us in? What actually does need to get done? And then processes and timelines for that. Among other tangents I'm sure we're going to get on. But yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the hurdles that people face. Clutter, condition, timing. People don't understand like how long it might take. Who are the vendors they need to bring in, if any? Mm-hmm. What are the things they specifically need to do to the property? Mm-hmm. What do they do with all the stuff? Mm-hmm. And a really good real estate agent, this is what they do: is they bring in all their vendors. Like I had a listing in Devon I had 9 contractors in there between my first meeting and settlement. And so 9 different people getting that house ready, getting it sold. Those are the types of, that's an example of the things that a good real estate agent will be able to do. So like a lot of the stuff in a real estate transaction and the process, you can lean on your realtor to get it, to get you the cheat sheet and get your house actually ready. And as long as you have a process, it's usually it's pretty tame. It's a pretty tame exercise.
Yeah. So I will say, so like just like any transaction is very individualized, and way of going about things is very individualized. There is a process. So, we're not just flying by the seat of our pants just per client. But we also, and I said this in the last episode too, about clients that I'm currently working with. It's asking, like, what position are you in right now? We can go from any end of the spectrum of, and what is important to you. And what you end up really doing is going to very heavily depend on what you want to see happen, what you're capable of, and what your comfort level is. So, you can go all the way from the end of, I'm very money motivated and we really just need to get top dollar for this. That's going to take one approach, and that's going to have one to-do list. Or there's, I'm logistically strapped. I have a sick partner at home that I can't get out of the house really easily, or, we can't really accommodate, or we're in a really tough position to not be able to do much. We have contractors too, but the ease of things, like I want this to be easier and low stress. We want both to be low stress, but that will take a different approach. So it's having the conversation, figuring out what is most important to you. That's the route that we end up going, and create a game plan from there.
That's right. And I going back to the beginning, I feel that people get overwhelmed by the prospect of having to prepare a house for sale because,
Yeah.
They think like, oh my God, I got to empty the house, or like,
Dude,
I
if I
can't
had to
live.
list my house right now, I look at the trim and I'm like, oh my God, I'd have to, dude. I love the people who previously owned the house, and this just might be a time thing, but the trim is a hot mess. It needs to get replaced. There are mistakes I have made and like drywall chunks out of my wall. Thank you, command strips.
Yeah.
I look around at, like, I have to paint my ceiling. There's so much. I just see myself, and I'm in real estate, and I'm a real estate agent. And
Yeah.
I see my house. I was like, God forbid I had to prep this thing for sale.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It sucks.
It is. It does suck. And that's why we're going to talk about. So you said before we started recording, you said you had 2 listing appointments that this past weekend. So let's just use those as case studies and examples for our audience.
Okay. So I had one. Had one Saturday, had one Sunday. I'm going to have one next Sunday also, that fits into the one from this past Sunday. So the one, she needs top dollar. She is willing to do what she needs to do to the house to get the most out of it. We're over, she'd said bathroom, like, I know, like, bathrooms are dated. There is this, it's like a little dated. It was built in 2002, so it's not old, but it's also not to 2025, current models. So I'm going through and going around, and it's like, I know that there's like, it seems like there's so much to do, but I'm just like, honestly, like, listen, you want it to show the best. Like, bones of it are fine. The big questions I'm really asking are like, have you maintained it really? I mean, buyers want to know that they're buying something safe. Like, have you maintained your HVAC? When did you replace your roof? Like, people care. And when's your water heater from? Have you ever had any flooding? Like, those are the things that I'm really asking. But as far as like the rest of the house, I'm going through and telling her, like, listen, we want top dollar. There are pets involved. It shows in the carpets. Like, all right, gonna want to replace the carpets. You're gonna want to paint, make it cohesive, and have somebody come in and see like that they have to do as little as possible, so that the money that they are paying for the house is essentially paying for the fact that they don't have to do a bunch when they get in here. So questions that she had though was, or what she had in her mind is, well, if I replace the carpets and I shell this money out to do this, am I going to get it back? So that I actually was talking about this yesterday, and it's not necessarily always going to be a dollar for dollar return. It's also hard to quantify that when you're putting the price and the value on the house and like just tacking that in. But you really want to be able to make sure of, like, by doing that, how much are you expanding your buyer pool and increasing your chances of getting an offer or not. So, by putting the money into replacing those floors and getting the rest of the house painted could be the difference from somebody deciding to offer on that or not. And that could be the person who is trying to decide if they should go for it or not, or deciding between that property and another one they saw that day. That could have been the decision maker of, well, we don't have to do the floors in that other one though, but these ones are already done. And then you get that offer, and it could be somebody super well qualified and being able to bring that money to the table.
Yeah. So just to back up, this is the conversation we had yesterday, which is uh, that that's a question we get all the time. Well, if I put all this money in, will I get it back? So it's like, if I put $1,000 in, will I get $1,000 back? And I want to just really emphasize that point, that it is not always about getting all that $1,000 back. And people are like, well, wait, what are you talking about? What is that? The reason is, it might be the difference between getting an offer or not. Like, that's the difference. Like, it's about marketing. It's about making it feel safe and clean and convenient. People don't want to come in and have to rip up floors and redo them before they move in. Sometimes they have a house sold and they need to move right in, and they've got a tight timeline. And it's allowing the house to feel as safe and as convenient as possible sometimes. When you're talking about larger projects like redoing kitchens.
Well, hold on. That gets into my other listing appointment.
Yeah. So, but I just want to emphasize that point, that having a dollar for dollar return on an investment when you put it in before you list a house for sale is not always the goal. Okay, continue.
No problem. That was a good point.
Yeah.
So for this one, she has some work to do into the house. Not a ton, but I did say, and this is going to be a little bit of a longer play. It's nothing that's immediate, but what I did tell her is, listen, I know we're not like listing next week or even this month. There are some just logistical things as far as the next move that are involved. But I did tell her, but get started now, because, by the time the right time does come and the right thing comes up, I do want it to be at a point where I can just run on over, throw my sign in, and get it listed, and you don't still have all of these projects still to get done.
Yeah.
So I always say, just get started, even if this may not happen until like November.
It's your cue.
Huh?
It's your cue for your.
There is never such thing as too soon, but there's always such thing as too late.
No. That's not how you say it. How do you actually say it?
There's no such thing as too soon.
Yeah, you said it in a weird way. That's fine. You kind of landed that, but it's true.
It is true. Yeah. So I'm like, well, listen, these are things that you can get started on. So that also then segues me into the other one. So on the opposite end of things is this mother's house that I went to. Yes, what day is it? I don't even know. Time's not real. Sunday. Now she's in a position. Her husband is ill and isn't of good health. She's looking to move in with her son and her son's girlfriend for them all to buy a house together. And part of being able to do that is selling her house. Her house is dated. It's like from the 70s. It's got like pink carpet. I'm on a call with them on Saturday, and the son's describing it. I'm expecting this to be a raging shithole. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, all right, this might be this word. Maybe we do this off market, thinking of different approaches. I didn't think too hard. I formulate my opinions when I actually get there. And I'm glad, because I get there. It's not in awful shape.
Yeah.
It's actually in fine shape. It is dated. It's got those pink carpets. It's got linoleum flooring in the kitchens. Like, it's old, but it's fine. And I'm explaining, they're saying like, we might need to, renovate the bathrooms and replace the cabinets in the kitchen because they're old and dated. And there's the cabinet over the refrigerator we had to take out, and it's still down there, but like, I guess we could put it back. Oh my God, I get over there. And I was like, well, let's go look at it. And I go in the kitchen. I'm like, it's fine. I said, here's the thing. Here's what you're going to do. And first of all, the cabinet over the fridge, nobody's missing that. Nobody uses it. I have stuff up in mind that I think was put there when I moved in here almost 8 years ago, and I think I touched it once. But anyway, that aside, I'm talking to her. I was like, okay, well, here's what's going to happen, though. I was like, so what? And on top of it, she's a wonderful woman. She's still working full time. She's also caring for her husband. She hardly has any spare time, and she already has enough stress as it is. So I was like, okay, why would you put the stress on yourself for having to have these renovations going on? And all right, say that you only wanted to replace the cabinets because they're old. And by the way, they look fine, but they're old. Okay, you replace the cabinets. Now the cabinets don't match the counters. So now you're going to replace the counters. Well, now you have new cabinets and new counters. So now you have to have them match the floor. So then you're going to redo the floor. Next thing you know, you have a new kitchen, but the rest of the house is dated. Well, that doesn't match. and that doesn't make sense. So then you're just going to go and just get some new flooring across the house. Well, then you already got the new flooring. Might as well paint the walls. Why would you do that to yourself? I was like, listen, you have cohesion across your house. It's dated. That is what somebody's going to sign up for. I was like, what is easiest for you? Like, we can take different approaches. Do you want me to approach this as just find an off market buyer? I could list this and just have a couple open houses and a blocked off time frame where you just go to your son's house for a few hours and I just say this is your only shot to see it. There's pros and cons to it. Lots of different ways we can do this, but I was like, don't stress yourself out over renovating your house and putting all that money out when that's not your ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. What she really needs to do is I said, then we go to the basement and she has a lot of stuff down there that's piled up, like her kids leaving stuff at her house and not taking them with them. Guilty. My mom has a lot of my stuff over at her house. I'm not ever going to take. Sorry, Mom. But and just a lot of paper she has to go through. That is going to be what needs to get tackled.
Yeah.
So I'm like, listen, I'm not saying there isn't a to-do list here and there isn't work to be done here. I said, but the good news is it's not going to be stuff that's going to be costly. It's going to be just costly in time. I said, but this is not something I want to see you stress out over because this is going to be a home sale contingent situation where we say, okay, now we need to do it now. And then you're giving yourself a time constraint. I said, right now, as it stands, we have some time. I said, come down here, take 20 minutes to just go through, purge, or decide, is this a keep, a donate, or a storage unit thing? And work your way through from there. I also told her, I was like, I'm not afraid to roll my sleeves up and, dig in. I guess almost daughter-in-law, her son's girlfriend, her and I used to work together. We're friends. I was like, we used to do floor sets together. We're no strangers to putting in some sweat equity.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's just different approaches. And a lot of times you just don't really know what the best course of action is, but you need to talk through that.
Yeah. Yeah. So a big thing that I get is, I don't want you over yet because we have to get rid of stuff.
The apology tour. I love that.
Yeah, the apology tour. And I was over in Havertown, and she kept warning me. She texted me. She's like, I just want you to know, there's a lot of stuff. And she's recently widowed. And sometimes that can devolve into people collecting things, not wanting to get rid of things, that type of thing. So I was just like you, man. I was ready to go in and see a hoarder special.
I don't think people understand what we see.
Yeah, and that's my point. Is that, my God, I have seen just houses buried. I mean,
same.
You can't get into anything. Like, I had a house in Philadelphia, and there was so much stuff in the house that my client was 44 years old and he hadn't been in his room for like 18 years and no one else had. It was literally filled and no one had ever gone back in there. And so I've had my back against the ceiling over stuff to get to an electrical box in a basement. So when I went down there, she's like, I'm sorry, there's a lot of stuff. And she kept apologizing. And I just looked around, I'm like, where's the rest of the stuff? I was playing with her. I'm like, where's the rest of the stuff? Because she was relieved that I wasn't because I think people don't want to be judged, and they want to be, they want the house to show in a good light. Another thing we talked about yesterday is I think a lot of people are afraid of having realtors over because they're worried that the realtor's going to price their house low based on its current state. Some might, yeah, but realtors absolutely can see past things and can see the forest through the trees because they walk through houses every day, all day. They know what the end result can look like. And a good realtor is going to have a process for you to get stuff out. And you're right. Anything that's in the house, it's either going into storage, it's going to the next house, it's getting donated, it's getting sent to relatives, it's getting sold, or it's part of the property.
Or it doesn't, but full transparency and full disclosure, it's going to reflect in the price.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's all that's the same as, well, are you going to redo a kitchen or are you going to replace the carpet and paint? It's that all comes down to a good realtor is going to just say, listen, if you don't want to do this stuff, that's fine. I will sell whatever you decide. But here are the pros and cons. These are the pricing and all that stuff. And a good realtor is going to be able to talk you through the pros and cons and the pricing difference that you can expect. So it really, though, a good realtor is going to have a process. There's literally nothing we haven't seen at this point. I've almost gotten attacked by dogs. I've been in hoarder specials. I've had agitated relatives. I've got screamed at, like everything under the sun.
You
And
almost got sued.
I almost got sued, but I was representing the buyer in that
Yeah.
case. And that guy he was an attorney from the city, and he was just so happy. He was a big teddy bear at the end. So, because I brought my attorney to settlement to counteract him. But anyway, in the end, it's getting a house ready it's the same thing as getting ready to buy. You have to go through the iterations, and the earlier you do it, the better.
The earlier you do it, the less stress you're putting on yourself. Because, like I said, like I was telling that one client, I'm like, I don't want to see you stress. To be honest, I'm trying to avoid that at all costs, but still be able to get the most amount done, to be able to give you your best opportunity to get the most for your home and have the smoothest ride. So the sooner you get started, it's better to just take, like, all right, spend 30 minutes a day on purging. A lot of getting ready to sell your house is decluttering, by the way. So spoiler alert, it took 20 minutes to get to like one of the biggest nuggets and biggest answers to the question of this entire topic is, what do I need to do to sell my house? So much of it is decluttering. Like, start going through. It's like, you can start packing little things. A lot of times I say, for instance, I had a client in Paoli. My God, I guess it's not like 2 years ago. There was going to need to be some room to like kind of put some stuff. I was like, start with your attic. I was like, clear out your attic of things you straight up just don't need, so you can have that for storage if we do need it, as we start kind of like pulling some stuff from the basement, and if we need to get rid of some of the furniture to minimalize things, because then there's a staging, which Seth brought to my attention like last year as a very underutilized skill that I have from my retail years. But there is an art to that. But start decluttering. That is
this is what I say to people. I say, if it's not going to the next house, get rid of it.
Oh, right.
Whether it's take it to the curb, you donate it, sell it,
But there is
whatever.
a lot of stuff that you do end up that is like, no, but I am keeping it. Well, okay. How can you consolidate or move it somewhere else? Do you need a storage unit? Do you you need to go through your stuff. Like, I think I did make a goal at the end of last year that I have not held on to. I got really hyper focused and on decluttering shit. I was like, I'm going to declutter one thing every day. I stopped. But I did get somewhere. I went through my Tupperware cabinet.
There you go. Tupperware is a big one. Tupperware is a real big one.
Junk drawer. That was a COVID thing. Like just baskets. It's the little stuff, but like people are coming through your house and they are seeing it. You end up becoming house blind to a lot of things in your house, which is fine. Like, it's things you can live with, but a buyer is nitpicking literally everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I always just say, guys, every flat surface needs to be cleared out. I said that goes for floors, mantles, countertops, maybe some small knickknacks or whatever. But overall, you need to minimize.
When you need to clear those surfaces, you got to put the stuff somewhere. And then you go to say, oh, just go hide this thing. This one's in a cabinet. Well, then you can't get into the cabinet because the cabinet's full of a bunch of shit. And then you're like, okay, well, let me go through this cabinet and get rid of the bunch of this shit so that I can do that. That's where this.
Have you ever seen that Malcolm in the Middle skit where it's on Instagram, but it's basically it's Bryan Cranston is the main character. He like goes to just do one thing, and it just shows like ADD. And every time he goes to do something, he gets distracted and does something else. And by the time, I think he had to change a light bulb, and by the time he was done, he was like changing the oil in the car. And it's I
live it every day.
I live it too. I'm like, why did I walk into this room? I'm ready to go. And I like, if I'm out in my garage, it's like, forget about it. I'm gone. Mm-hmm. So just be that way where you feel overwhelmed because you're not, because you got to clean out cabinets and you got to clean out drawers, and then you got to minimize and you got to paint, and you got to do this, that, and the other. Like I said, a good agent like us, or a good real estate team like we are, we will have a process. And I always say, It's like a big puzzle, man. And we put it together, and we're going to get you action items. We're going to get you checklists and get you your marching orders so you can do this in a controlled way. And we're not going to just like leave you behind and just say, okay, this is what you do. And then you just like take off and you show up with the sign. Mm-hmm. We work with people all throughout the process. I tell people, you can send me pictures like, hey, does this look stupid? Mm-hmm. Should I just get rid of this piece of furniture? Like, hey, is this minimized enough? Like, hey, do you have anyone who would buy this? Like a lot of the men will be like, hey, do you have anyone who would like buy like a table saw, that type of thing. We have people who will come in and put stuff on Facebook for you to sell. So, we have all these vendors and all these tools to help you. But like I said, man, it's just like buying. You just get a consultation early, and then we back in all the activities for your timeline.
Yeah. So. And like, it's not to say that it's not going to suck. It's not going to take effort. It takes work.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm not minimizing that at all. You do need to get your house ready to sell, and it is putting it in the most perfect condition that you've ever had it in since you probably bought it.
Yeah.
If that's the route that you end up taking. But like you said, we're not going to just say like, okay, go do this. Bye. But it is going to take some work. And the sooner though that you plan for that, the less overwhelming that's going to be. And
well, also the way I would look at this is the more prepared you are and the better you do this, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah. And also, can I just please say, and I wish I said this earlier in the episode, if you are going to do anything to your house, the best thing you could ever do is have all your documentation just readily available. The more you can speak to your house, the better it's going to sell. The better the seller's disclosure is filled out, and the more you can speak to your house and the better in detail you can get about what exactly you did to make a buyer feel secure, mm-hmm. and it will translate to say, oh, this person knows their home and clearly took really good care of it and can back that up. Wow, that goes so far.
Yeah, there have been times when my buyers are like, I can just tell this person's detailed by just reading this disclosure, and you can.
Yeah, the disclosure being able to say, here's the invoice from when this was done by this company, was serviced this date. Like, the better you can speak to your home, that is such a massive selling point. Yeah. So on top of making sure that your house is ready to sell, go through your paperwork, go through and be able to pull what you can to be able to speak to your house. That's huge.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, I think we leave it at that.
Okay.
All right. I think
if you haven't already, let us know what you think of Moving Sucks. Let us know if you've sold your house. I actually really want to know what your stories are, and was it harder or easier than you expected it to be?
And we should have asked in the beginning, but if anyone could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Wake up the algorithm a little bit here.
Everybody needs to know this podcast exists.
That's right, because we make it for you.
It's just so useful, dude. And we're so funny. Oh, I am. But yeah, what a blessing to everybody to be able to have this podcast.
I mean, the fact that you bestow your time upon your fellow man is an amazing thing. And I think everyone should feel privileged to have you in their world.
Some recognition. Fine.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm not half bad either. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye.